Welcome to Never Rewrite.
You forgot who you are again. We should just leave this in. It's a reoccurring thing. Isaac forgets who he is.
No,
I
no,
forget the
no
script. I
cuss,
forget
no
the prompt.
edits.
All right.
Just let it go with it.
Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we are joined by special guest Thomas Morris, or Timo, and he's going to discuss company culture with us. So Thomas, or Timo, take it away. Tell us who you are. Give the audience a little bit of knowledge about who you are and what you
Yeah,
do.
totally. My name is Thomas Morris, as Jeffrey alluded to. Timo is my alias. Been following me since college, so Timo's a lot easier, and people like that nomenclature I have, so people just stick with it. Been a developer for 9+ years. Been a individual contributor, manager. Had my shot as a potential VP, but that kind of went belly up. So I'm gonna dive into that a little bit more when I speak about culture. But yeah, that's in essence about what I do. I would consider myself a full stack developer, a polyglot. I love working in Java. Me and Isaac have different opinions about Java, but
Java sucks. Yeah.
I love Java. I got more than a decade experience coding in Java.
oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh, you know what? I would love to learn from you because I talked to someone from Active Campaign. I think you know Mark Nutzel, I
Mark
think.
Nuttall, yeah.
Nuttall, and he basically blew me away with his expertise in Java. So I have a lot to learn, and I'm pretty sure you're on the same level as him in terms of like your Java expertise.
I don't actually
Uh,
hate Java. I just I've seen people abuse it so much that it made it hard for me to work in. So Java's fine.
well, Java is just it's an everything language. It's a Swiss Army knife. And so my experiences are entirely unlike Mark's. Mark's is the enterprise,
Mm.
and my experience was in the low latency, high performance side. So
Yep.
it just
Mhm.
a total, it's like any kind of a sandbox. You could do lots and lots of different things. So
Oh yeah.
it's always interesting to see how somebody can have so much experience and have done nothing at all, like you've ever done.
That's
Um,
that's how I feel. But yeah.
So some
this,
some context for this episode. We had a recent episode where we talked about company culture, different teams, how to make teams thrive, how to kill a team, things like that. And then Timo listened to some of those episodes, and then we had some discussions offline about them. And so company culture is very important to him. So we thought we'd invite him on and kind of give him a chance to either comment on those prior episodes or give some more color on like some of the passion he has around about good company culture. So Timo, why is company culture important? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, so if you ever looked at my LinkedIn, so I worked at my first job out of college was or into development was with a company called ThoughtWorks. So that was a consulting company where you went to different clients and different clients had different tech stacks, they had different domain business focus or core business logic. They had different teams, everything basically, and trying with that is going to be different cultures. So that was my first experience with actually bouncing from team to team and seeing different cultures. Like one of the cool things, the first actual platform I had got to work on was something called Friends of the Congo. Um, and I think it'd be fine if I mentioned their name,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, I could only say good things about this company. It's a nonprofit. Actually, this one thing one company I would want to shout out as a nonprofit because they're basically trying to give more transparency to what was going on in the Dominican Republic of Congo. And I don't know, do you by chance send links out or to attach links to the episodes?
We have links to the
we
episodes.
can,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll share them after.
Okay, perfect. I could Isaac or Jeff, I could send you both a link to a video that basically summarizes better than I can about what the mission of the company is, if anyone's interested. But yeah, that was my
Yeah.
first actual project. It was a pro bono project that ThoughtWorks basically sponsored and paid for. So just the opportunity to like work on something like that that actually gives transparency to the atrocities that happen in the Congo and to the Congolese people, and
Hmm.
give voice to that. That I mean, for me, that was the biggest impact I had, and that wasn't so much culture. It was just like giving back to a mission or giving back to an organization that actually was improving the world. And to me, I never thought a company. So all the companies I work for never going to reach that peak in terms of like the giving me like the I guess the what's the one I'm looking for, the passion to actually build something that actually matters.
Right.
Like
Hmm.
it's hard to pull that out if you work in like a finance company or if you work at a banking company. It's hard to pull that out of people. But one thing I learned about when I'm working in different companies is the leadership can elicit the reaction even if the platform might not be that impactful to you. So
I
that's what culture. Oh, sorry.
Oh, well, I was gonna go with I've started my career in a finance company, and our CEO was actually amazing. Like, I didn't, it was my first job, so I didn't realize it, but he was amazing because he made us passionate about the company's mission, even though literally we were basically a stock exchange, and our mission was to make
Yeah.
it easier to buy and sell stocks. But he got us passionate. He got us riled up about the mission. And yeah, the you will. It is hard to beat that when you have a mission and you're changing the world and you believe it.
Hmm.
And in our case, we
That's,
did. We changed the world, and it turned out that when we did all those things, it was actually worse. But 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 we changed the world, and we did all the things that he said we were going to do.
it's the ironic sense, right? You're driven to do malicious things.
Well, it wasn't. It just it the side effects,
Right. Right.
the short term things were all better in all the ways that we expected, and then sort of the long term. Anyway, I'm stealing your thunder. Go on.
No, 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 no. I'm actually pretty curious about that. Like, what made the like, and I guess to ask you a question, what
Yeah.
made you feel like the CEO or your leadership like elicited that reaction from y'all to actually feel like, hey, we're actually doing something that's mean. I'm gonna say meaningful, but the mission I can get behind the mission because of the leadership's um like ethos or his personality or his or her personality.
Okay. This is going to get a little bit technical, so bear with me because I have to lay it out.
All good.
This is 2000, and stocks were still traded in fractions because stocks were still primarily traded by humans waving fingers at each other as fast as they can. So the smallest amount, the tick, would be 1/64th, which isn't even a whole number,
Hmm.
and there'd be a 30-second delay because you have to give the humans time. So you'd say, I want to buy this, and there'd be a minimum thing. And there's a whole pile of literature and theory about how stock exchange, like the pits, which are all closed now, but like when you had back in the, if you watch any like Wall Street movies in the 80s, there's the pits, there's the guys with the jacket, and they're all waving their fingers and go rah 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 and yelling at each other. And it's not that they were rigged, it's that they were set up in such a way that the pit traders were more or less guaranteed to make money, with the idea being they had certain obligations, and it was, as long as they could do a decent job, they were going to make money. And because they were going to make money, they would be honest and they would do their job, which,
Yep.
if you've got any idea about watching a Wall Street movie from the 80s, you can know is a pile of crap. That just because they're guaranteed to make money doesn't mean they're going to be honest.
Yep.
And we were an electronic trading company, or we were an electronic exchange. So when you wanted to buy or sell a stock, if you went through the humans, they had up to 30 seconds to execute your trade. And the minimum tick would generally be 1/64th, which is like 1.5 cents, basically.
Yep.
And what they would do, something like 70% of the time, is they would front run you, which means that they would trade on their own account ahead of you and then execute your order so that you ended up paying more or your sale would be less. And then they would they would not only take the commission off doing the thing that they're obligated to do, but they would also cut you out. They would cut out much of your profits.
Yep.
And we were electronic. We had a computer, and the computer was going to be honest. because we programmed it and it was audited. And almost more importantly, or actually more importantly, as we learned, the computer was going to execute in sub-second time. And so like the analogy that our CEO used to use a lot was like, look, if you're trying to buy concert tickets and I can tell you in 30 seconds whether or not you bought the concert tickets for $20, or I can tell you in under a second, or sorry, whether or not you got the tickets for $20, and if you didn't get the tickets, it's now sold out and you don't get tickets. Exactly. Or I can tell you in under a second if you got the tickets, but you're gonna have to pay $21. And if you didn't get them, you've got another shot because it's not sold out yet. And and his thing was like, look, if people want to pay a little bit more, for the certainty, for the speed, then that's their business. And because we were trading in we weren't trading decimals because it wasn't allowed, but basically we were trading in decimals and converting. And we were trading in sub pennies. So if you've got something like back then Microsoft at $100, we would trade Microsoft out to four decimal places. So sub penny, the traders would be making you pay 164, so a tick. And so our whole mission was, hey, we're going to do these trades faster and fairer and cheaper, and this is going to be good for people. So this is right at the beginning of the E-Trade and the Daitech. This company was actually a spinoff of Daitech.
Yep.
And so we were doing that, and we did. We changed it. We pushed, we helped push through. We got the trading from fractions to decimal. We got sub penny, but then the SEC made us walk it back. We changed the trading hours, so we had before and after hours trading. And the big thing we had is the sub-second trading times. And so like our mission was that is all going to be really good for the consumer. The average person is going to be able to buy and sell stocks cheaper, so they're going to be more profitable for them, and that's going to be good for everyone.
Exactly, and you pretty much cut out the I guess the pit at that point. They're not useful anymore because now you still charging. I wouldn't even say you still charging a premium. It's cheaper to go your route, and you're making money from it rather than using the pit. And they're already using like scummy tactics to cut off profits from the customer at that point.
Right, exactly. So that was the idea. Was okay, we're going to make the world much better. And sort of the flip side of that, the unintentional thing is we created high frequency trading, which crashed the market a few times.
Is this related to Bernie Madoff? I feel like he did something like that too.
No, Bernie Madoff was just a straight up Ponzi scheme.
No, I mean like he got he helped with like electronics in the stock market. Remember he like.
He was in favor, but the scam that Bernie Madoff was behind, he was just a straight up Ponzi scheme. He wasn't doing any trading.
Well, I mean, like the kind of work that you're doing was the kind of work he had developers doing too to help with trades. I think, from what I remember.
He claimed he was, but he wasn't actually doing.
He claimed he was.
Anyway, okay, so let's walk all this back. So Timo is happy with ThoughtWorks because they give him the ability to work towards a mission. Kind of like highlighting the atrocities in Congo that were happening at the time, or had happened. And then we have Jeffrey talking about how he felt like he had a good mission too, but it was just more of a perception of a good mission. It didn't end up, the after effects weren't as great, but all kind of in the same realm of like feeling like you're doing something good for the company and feeling like you have meaning and purpose. And so it sounds like that's like kind of like the main thread you're getting at here, Timo, as far as company culture.
Yeah. And I think that's and from a leadership standpoint, that's I would say I want to know how to portion this out for the culture, because culture is more than just the mission. It's the people you work with, the type of. So I remember this analogy that one of my buddies used to give for me with like culture. The bigger you get, the culture is like cement. The longer the company lasts, the harder it is to change the culture at that point. I've seen this in multiple companies where. I worked at startups. I worked at established companies. So established companies, it's like you could try to go against the grain. You can try to change how people think. You could try to change leadership's mindset. But at that point, they already have a process in place. They already have the things they're used to. And I'm pretty sure both of you experienced it before. But if you try to change how someone operates that's been in the business for 20 years, it's it's like pulling their teeth. You
Hmm.
really can't change that person at that point because they already have, especially when they're coming for 20 years, they already established a pattern. They already established what they're comfortable with. Um,
It's funny because that's true even when the company knows that it's failing because
exactly,
it's so hidebound. You still can't change
exactly,
it.
exactly. It's just like it's so stuck in the ways that it operates. And the thing that I wouldn't even say this is culture thing, but it's also with a lot of companies and leadership in general. And my biggest pet peeve when it comes to leaders is
Yeah.
ego and the inability to take feedback. So I've worked at companies where, like you said, you become successful. You've done something that got you to a certain point. That's not enough to get to that next level. You have to adapt to get to the next profit, whatever you're looking for, the next growth phase in the company, the next profit phase in the company, whatever that looks like, you have to adapt to that point. And to Jeff, to your point, a lot of companies think like, oh, this is what got me to being successful. I'm going to stick with this because it led me to this point, and it must work for all facets, like one size fit all thing, and that's
Mhm.
not entirely true all the time.
Could you go deeper into the leadership and ego? I'm curious what kind of terrible things have you seen or good things you've seen from egoless.
Yeah, so not to call out names, but
No,
I've
no, no names.
yeah, to try to keep this as anonymous as possible. But I've worked
Names have
at
been
companies.
changed to protect the guilty.
Exactly. I worked at companies in my career where it's it's so for me, it's not so much. So for me as a leader, let me start with the definition of a leader to me fits, and it doesn't fit everyone's definition of a leader, but for me, it's someone who actually makes the lives of people who report to them easier. To me, that is a good leader. If you can make the lives of your employees easier in some facet, then you're doing a good job, in my opinion. You're making and you're empathetic. So you let go of what you think is right, and you let go of what you assume is the best approach to a problem, and you listen to your employees. You listen to their feedback because they're the ones they're most like the ones who actually they're in the weeds of it. They experience it more than you do. Like, yeah, you might have a high level understanding about how the company works, how things integrate, and how you have to
Mhm.
communicate with different departments. But when it comes to people you manage, they have a much better insight at a low level about how things operate. And you need their insights into how to make things better. And so, in order to get those insights, you have to build that trust relationship and also make it easy for them to accomplish their mission or their goals to make the company better. So I work in so that's my definition of leaders. So I've worked with leaders before that they care more about being right than making a company succeed. And
Mhm.
that is a dangerous precedence to follow because it's not so much that they care about, hey, what is the best approach or what is the best solution for the problem we're trying to accomplish. It's my solution. So my solution is basically etched in stone. I got to this position because I know best. And I work with people like that that would and the thing that the most jarring about it is that it's people who are non-technical saying things that saying that this is the best solution for a technical standpoint, and they're not technical. I work with leaders like that. Yes, I know, I know. And
Hey, can you give an example of some of the brilliant leadership? If that doesn't reveal too much detail about some brilliant decisions that some of these people have made, because it sounds very Dilbert-esque.
Yeah.
so it's the and this is where it comes with hubris. So for an example, and I'm trying to keep this vague as possible. Uh, so the example I can give is that they see other solutions that exist, and they've used those solutions, external services, to solve very short-term problems.
Hmm.
And they assume that that same solution or similar solutions exist out in the ethos of the internet or some service out there exists that will solve the team's internal problem from a technical standpoint. And they say, find that service that will solve our problems or
Mm.
our company problems. And when you try to explain to them, hey, like sure we can use this service, but it only hits on like 40% of the issues. The rest of it has to be built in a house, it has to be customly made. Then it's a, well, that's not fast enough, or that's not quick enough, or we need to move because we don't have the time for it. And it's just like, well, I'm sorry, but this is the reality we live in. And I wish there was and again, I wish there was a solution that existed. I wish there was something that we could pull out the box and be like solves all of our problems, or build a product that makes us more efficient, but that doesn't exist. So I'm
I've
sorry.
I've actually had clients, or a client that's, and it's funny enough, we'll get back to that in a second, that has had similar demands like this, where they're like, they don't quite understand. They're like, oh well, we want you to build this thing, and we know this thing's out there already. Can't you
Mhm.
just, use this currently existing thing? And use this currently existing thing too. And it's like kind of like a patchwork of all kinds of different services. They're like, oh well, the solutions exist, so just use those. And you're like, well, to get those things talking to each other is a lot of work, right?
Mhm.
So that's coming just from a non-technical person who's like a client. The idea that you have somebody who's in a leadership position is even scarier, because with the client you can say no. In leadership, you have to say yes a lot of times, or at least give it your best effort for pushing back before they just say, well, we're doing it anyway.
And that's the difficult part when it comes to it. And it gets to a certain point where you just I can't remember I remember during the last episode you all talked about with culture, there's a certain point you just don't listen to certain people. You just have to block them out. And that's what we had. I mean, that's what I had to do with that leadership at the time. I was like, okay, I can't, like, you're not giving me, like, not even like like, well, one part of it was not clear direction about where we were going, but it's also like you're not giving me helpful solutions or anything that's substantial that I can actually bite my teeth around. I understand what the product we need to build is. I understand where we need to go for the company to succeed, and there's no out of box solution for that. So I'm gonna keep going on this path because hopefully, given the time, because I did have leeway to build out that technical implementation. Hopefully, given the time, we can show you why what we're building is valuable. And that's where MVPs come from. That's where demos
Mhm.
come from. That's how showing them like everything we're building is actually bringing value, and it's done and we did it in a timely fashion too. Like we beat out the estimations around what the projected timeline was going to be to actually build out this MVP. We did that, but it still wasn't satisfactory enough. It
Right.
still was, and then at that point, you just like, and that's where it's just like, where do we go from here?
So
Like,
this is super interesting to me. So let me play devil's advocate. I'm going to be the clueless, arrogant leader thing for a moment. Timo, right? We could have bought this thing, right, for money, and it
mhm.
would have gotten us halfway there. And instead, you guys developed, which also cost me money because I paid you guys,
Yeah.
and you've got me an MVP, which gets me before you said that the existing SaaS implementation would be like 40 or 50%. How much of
Mhm.
the problem does the MVP solve? Does it solve anything? Or does it just show that we could solve it?
So, and that's what the trade-off were. So, if you were if you were the product owner, or like not even product owner, because product owners would understand how product works, but
The
but if
company
you were
owner.
the company owner at that
My
point,
name's on the checks.
a certain respect my authority, as
Respect my
Carmen would say.
authority.
But at that point, you'd be like, all right, and the thing is, like, there's trade-offs with that, and that's completely
Mhm.
fair. Like, what's the trade-off if we get to the 50% mark? Is that 50% mark going to convert the amount of people that we expect to convert to use our platform, or to get the business that we expect them to? If it doesn't, then you know what? And at that point, if you're like, okay, cool. If we have a 50% solution that goes 50%, let's implement it. Let's use that solution for now, and then we have ways to actually vet out with data, is this actually leading us to the right path? Is it actually leading us to where we want to expect the conversion, the leads that we expect to get? All these questions that need to be answered, we can actually monitor that. If
Mhm.
it doesn't, then we can be like, hey, how? And then the thing is, like, what's the turnaround point at that point? Where do we say stop and let's focus on, all right, let's build the MVP out and see if that 50% or whatever left that needs to be completed. How much of that can we get done, and then test that to make sure that that MVP or what we building now actually converts the conversion that we expect to get those answers up front.
So in the scenario with the arrogant boss where you built the MVP, were you able to get far enough that you could actually get metrics and data about the usefulness of what you were building? So, again, it's the road not taking. You never know if we'd implement, if we paid for the SaaS and we think we'd have gotten 50%, but they could get metrics and see how close to projections, or the other road is build it yourself and get the metrics. Were you able to get far enough to get the metrics on the MVP?
We were able to get metrics about it was giving us high conversion, and we were able to show the bosses that, but it wasn't at the rate that they expected it to, or
Mm.
at the numbers that they wanted to get it at that point. Um, I wish I could dive into it a little bit more, but then it would be showing my hand about who the company is.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's keep the guilty or
Yeah.
anonymous.
No,
Because there's nothing like angry, arrogant people to want to fire off letters.
I know they I don't know if these my bosses would be, or at the time they would be upset about it. Because honestly, I left on well, we left on good terms with the relationship. So they don't I don't know. I don't think they would be mad if they heard this podcast, but again, who knows?
No, I respect client confidentiality. Is if that's a thing that that if that was a ThoughtWorks thing, then absolutely let's respect it and not blab.
Yeah. So
so they're an example of you're saying like the kind of the high ego thing with like, we found a solution out there. Why can't you build it our way or this easy way? Why is this going to take so long? And so just not able to relinquish that kind of control or like respect the decisions of developers or something like that. Is that what you're getting at?
yeah, it's just it's a mix of not respecting the developers, and then so I've worked with, and then this is another thing that comes with your ego, because you have to get your ego satiated by praise or accolades or something to basically make you feel like, oh, I'm doing something, I'm bringing value, right? Because it's not about the team at that point, it's about the individual accomplishments. So, and to your point, I work with leaders who are just like, I need I don't care what you think, or I don't care about where you're coming from. I care about, am I the one who made the solution? And like I'm pretty sure you both played this game with leaders who have that mentality before, where you have to basically make them think that your idea is their idea.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's very exhausting when you have to have that, because it's just like, all right, how do I phrase this to this person where not only am I making them feel good about what basically what they think came out of their mind, but then I also have to have to be able to let my own ego or my own self-confidence go. So whenever they say, "Oh, I came up with this idea," it'd be like, "Yeah, you sure did, boss. Good job. Great job, boss. You're doing great."
What's funny about all that is, as you move up in leadership, people who say stuff like that, everyone laughs at them, because from like leadership's point of view, if I'm a manager, I get rated based on the success of my team. Nobody
Exactly.
cares
Right.
about my ideas. I'm managing. So if my team is successful because I supported them and they come up with these great ideas, great. And if my team is successful because I had the great ideas and I told them, well, now you can't promote me, because if you promote me, I'm not going to be there to give them all these great ideas anymore. And
That's
no,
true.
it's
Yeah.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. It's one of those, if you're irreplaceable, you're also unpromotable.
Mhm.
Managers get credit for success, and so any manager who's stealing the success of their employees is just like they're cutting their nose to spite their face. They're getting credit for the wrong thing. You want to make
Yeah.
yourself seem as a manager needs to view themselves as somebody who facilitates their team, because they're getting credit for all the team success. right? If I've got
Hmm.
5 people and they are all doing awesome, that looks good on me. If I got 5 people and they're doing awesome because I'm telling them what to do, then I'm being a bad manager. I might still
Right.
be successful and they'll leave me there, but
Hmm.
they're not going to promote me because then I'm not going to be there. Like, who's going to tell my team what to do then?
I follow your logic and reasoning. However,
Mm.
uh, not a lot of not all companies use logic and reasoning, and there's definitely I know cases where people do cut their nose to spite their face and then get promoted, right?
You'd be amazed. Well, not amazed, but that you can go a certain amount, but you can't get.
Hmm.
You won't get the VP titles.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
Well, you
forgot.
might, but you won't get it off the backs of taking credit for other people's work.
I see.
Yeah, I forgot the what's that prince? It's a term name where you get promoted till you reach a certain point where now you're inefficient. I forgot the name. I forgot the
The Peter
term.
principle.
The
You
Peter
get
principle.
promoted to the level of your incompetence.
Exactly. And yep, and and I mean it shows a lot of companies because some people who are like fantastic developers, like some of the brightest developers I would work with would be terrible managers. And they have become managers or been in leadership roles, and they don't know how to properly um augment their team. That's what leadership management is. You have to augment your team.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I were and this my thing. Whenever I become when I was a manager or a potential VP of a company, my mentality is that if I were to leave the company should be able to operate without me being there. That sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. I should be
Mm-hmm.
able to be able to leave the company, and the company operates as just as well as if I was there because I made the teams more efficient. I leave blocks out the way. Maybe they'll get bombarded by by people who are now asking them questions or an internal team where I was blocking things out initially. But my
Mm-hmm.
team should be able to perform just as well as with me there as if I was not there.
Right. A good manager basically manages themselves out of a job.
Exactly. And that's how it should be. And
That should
people,
be.
and it's uncomfortable for some managers to think that because it's like, oh, then I'm not valuable. No, you are valuable because you made your team more efficient. And they'll keep you around because I mean, and I'm kind of contradicting myself with this, but once you leave, like for the short term, everything's still fine. But if those leaders above who are like bombarding you with stuff you're blocking the team from, now the team starts feeling it. Now the team will understand like, oh, that's why my manager was here to block me away from the bullshit at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
so the manager plays an important role, and you can still leave, but you still need a manager. It's just that you've made the team efficient, um, and your presence will be felt when you left because there might be other teams that are either not as efficient as the team that you led, or the team kind of falls back on their old bad habits once you leave. So
Exactly.
I guess there is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a catch-22 there, or like an oxymoron kind of feel to it, because they might operate a little while as if
Yeah, it's not forever. Somebody
yeah.
has to be managing because new problems will arise.
Exactly.
Well, all right. So let's see. We started with conversation on ThoughtWorks, and how they gave you the ability to work towards a mission you felt was really important, and that kind of gave you meaning in your job. And then we kind of
Hmm.
skated around topics about like, I guess, partially going into the concept of bad company culture with managers who have high egos or not like trying to help raise their team up or make
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
the team better. They're just kind of like almost kind of like last episode where we talked about somebody who's like, well, that's not the way I would do it. Instead of just like letting people find out their own, letting people grow underneath them. Because if you keep
Yeah.
giving people your own solutions, you're not letting people think for themselves and come up with their own solutions and grow. So
Hmm.
before we start wrapping this up, is there any kind of other message around like culture that you want to hit on before we end today's session?
I think for me, I think the if I could wrap culture off in like a couple of words, it's whatever the company intentions are, whatever the company goals are. That's what the culture of the company is. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on that, but You have cultures that are, I worked at cultures where I remember, Isaac, you talked about this in one of your previous episodes about the grind culture, the hustle culture,
Hmm.
where the sales team is on the hustle. They always got to meet numbers. They always got to be grinders. They always got to be getting on to the next level. Where the tech team might not be that way, and it's like,
Mhm.
all right, so why is that culture there? Because, well, the company incentivizes that. And so if you're going to incentivize that type of behavior, people are going to go with that type of behavior. Like this book I'm reading right now, Infectious Greed,
Mm.
going back to the financial markets. It's a really good book, by Frank Partney. I can show it if you're able to see it.
Blurry.
It's getting blurred.
Our listeners also can't. At least they heard the title.
I thought we at least show the book, but yeah. It's called Infectious Greed by Frank Partnoy. But it really talks about how basically the parasite that occurred in one investment company, or basically one banking company, or even with how CEOs get compensated with stock options, like percolated throughout the entire industry because
Mhm.
it was easy ways to make money doing dubious financial transactions such as derivative swaps, um,
Mhm.
or dubious actions where you have your CEO who doesn't care about how the stock performs for the long term because they have stock options. All they care about is short-term gain. So for them, as long as the stock looks like it's doing well over time, in the short term, they make their money once they can exercise their options. Where after all the scandals of things they've done in the past start coming out, and then the stock is not really worth, or the company not really worth what the stock price is, then it just dips. So, but what causes that is you incentivize that in the culture. If you're going to have that type of behavior and you're going to pay people for that behavior, or you make them get bonus or they get raises or move up in the company because of those behaviors, they will emulate that behavior because that's how you move up in the company. And at
Mhm.
the end of the day, that's how your culture gets created. So a lot of companies think that, oh, we just, like, they use the term like family
Yeah.
and team, which is all sweet things to say, right? But it doesn't mean anything because
The
the
company's
action.
not your family unless you have come
Exactly.
from a very bad family.
Exactly. Like, my dad never told me, you know what, son, it's hard. We having hard financial times right now, so you have to leave. Good luck.
Yeah.
Figure it out,
You have to
kid.
leave the family.
You have to leave the family.
Exactly. It's just hard times
We've
right now,
closed
kid.
off. We've closed out. We've closed off one head count for sons right now. So sorry, but if we get some more money in the next 6 months, we'll recall you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Once I get back on my feet, I'll give you a call back. Come right back to the house.
You can interview for your job back,
Interview for
son.
son. Yeah. The family thing gets
Our interview.
really the family thing gets really creepy. But also, like, it makes people think the same way. Or I would imagine you have to be very careful, because if you're firing people who are not fitting whatever you've defined your values are, and hiring people
Hmm.
who are, then you end up, again, if you're not careful and you don't have like at least some diversity of those values, you're just going to be hiring the people who think and operate the same, and firing anybody who thinks differently. So I
Hmm.
imagine your culture might get very boring over time unless you're very careful about
Well, you
defining
end up with
values.
you end up with a monoculture,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
monocultures are always less resilient than more dynamic
Yep.
ones.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
And it's funny because I know we're up on time, but there's one example I had at a previous company where someone actually got fired because they had a different opinion from the masses. And it's stuff like that, like you said, it's just like, well, if you want to talk about, like, diversity, inclusion, and equity at the company, well, that doesn't just stop at like what your skin tone is, or what your ethnicity is, or what your sexuality is. Also comes with, like, well, how people think too, and we can't exclude that out too. Like, different thoughts bring in different perspectives, which then bring in different ideas, which makes different solutions. um so yeah, I'm not trying to make it sound like DEI is not useful, because it's very extremely useful, but the inclusivity part of that also includes difference of opinions and difference of thought when it comes to different topics.
Right.
Mhm.
You want people in a room who don't think the same, because if you all think the same, then you all have the same solution to the same problem, and you might have a more creative one out there if you had somebody who had a completely different set of circumstances that led them to be a completely different person from a different culture, from whatever. That
Exactly.
diversity of thought is, yeah, I think very underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
Well, all right, thank you so much, Timo, for hopping on and giving us some insight into the things you find important in company cultures.
Yeah, and
No
if people
problem.
want to find out more about you, where should they look?
Oh, yes. So my LinkedIn, you find me, my name is very generic. It's Thomas Morris on LinkedIn.
You can
It's
put it in the
followed
show
by,
notes.
yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. And then my email is morenaruto007@gmail.com. As you can tell, I'm a big anime fan, so
That's a classic name from the older years.
I know
Love it.
Naruto is still one of my top anime of all time, so
Excellent.
All
all
right.
right, cool.
Well, thank you for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.